I'm going to go ahead and get us started. We will have some other trustees joining us. Sydney, will you assist in a roll call?
Today is February 22, 2023. The time is 4:48 p.m. Those in attendance are Jean Brady,
Jean, you may be on mute. Jean, if you can hear us, can you come on mute, off of mute and just let us know you're present?
Joanne Harris,
Present. Present.
Presiding Officer Leah.
Thank you. We'll begin with a silent meditation. Okay, thank you. Thank you all for taking time to be here today. We'll start with the approval of the minutes, and that should be included in your packet. It was also in the email that was sent in advance. Is there any, entertain a motion? Thank you, Marcy. Thank you, Josie. We have a first from Marcy and a second from Josie. And Sydney, could you conduct a roll call vote for us?
Jean Brady,
Agree.
Joanne Harris,
Agree. Aye. Aye.
motion passes.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments for today? Okay, thank you. All right, we'll go on to our next item, the report from the library board chair. I want to welcome all of you that are here in person as well as those that are online. Our meeting is being live streamed via YouTube, and a reminder for trustees that are online to just ensure that you have your camera on during taking action. And then a friendly reminder to our fellow board members to complete your financial disclosure report by March, and to also complete your Municipal Leadership Institute training. And if anyone has any questions about that.
I've been seeking the test code for quite a while now.
For the FDR or for the FDR? I think Jessica can assist you with that.
Good, okay.
Okay.
I wanted to be here for a while.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Marcy. And then also a reminder that next month's meeting, we are not going to be here in Central. We will be at Memorial. So just keep that in mind as you make your plans for next week. Next, I'll ask trustees if you have any reports for library-related activities. And I'm going to start on the left. Andrea.
So I didn't get to go on Valentine's Day. It wasn't very romantic, but I really wanted to go to Cortez, so I was able to make it out with my husband. And fun fact that I think it has just slipped my mind, as long as he's lived in San Antonio, he's never had a library card. So we were able to kill 3 birds with one stone. We went to go visit Cortez. There were people there, and it was later in the evening. And I was amazed with how many people were still there and checking out books, doing activities. The second thing, my husband got his first library card since he was a child, and he doesn't even think he had one in bracket. They just kind of kept a roll call of all the people who lived in the town. So I think this is officially his first library card he's ever had in his entire life. And I was able to renew mine because I forgot library cards expire. And I've been taking advantage of Libby so much that when I went to go get a physical book, it said, go to your local library. So check and see if your library cards have expired. Great reason to go visit your local library. But it was really nice, and Madeline did an amazing job helping him out, talking him through everything, asking him what he was interested in, pointing us in directions of books that my husband, who is not much of an avid reader physically, was actually excited. And when he found out that you could put holds and they will send the book to the library, he was just, I can do that. So it kind of just reminds me, it starts at home with where we advocate, because you think, okay, I have to get out into the community. I completely forgot about my husband. So it turned out to be a really great visit and really bonded us.
Great Valentine's Day library story, Andrea, thank you. Judy?
So my schedule didn't really allow for me to do many things, but I did want to acknowledge, because I was reminded, the passing of Jesse Trevino last week, and just his amazing art in the community, and especially here at Central. I just wanted to acknowledge that. I remember coming here, I don't remember what year it was, a few years back. It seems like yesterday that he was in this room, if any of you guys remember, and it was like standing room only. And he was just speaking about his amazing work and everything that he's done, and his contributions to the community. So I just wanted to acknowledge him and all of his contributions to the community of San Antonio. So.
I had a busy schedule also this month, but I wanted to inform the board and that the Carver Branch Library is having their 4th annual San Antonio African American Book Festival on Saturday. Saturday is a busy day, and it's from 10:30 until 5. And it will be at the Carver Branch Library as well as the Second Baptist Community Center, which is, you just walk across the little aisle and go over. They'll have it in 2 areas. This year, they're featuring 45 authors, which they're very pleased about. And also, they're adding a writing session for young people in partnership with the San Antonio chapter of the Links Incorporated. And so they're working very diligently and very hard on that project for Saturday. So I just wanted to let people know. Yes, it's this coming Saturday also, 10:30 to 5. Mm-hmm.
No, I've had
I did a couple of things. Let's see, I visited my libraries and had a chance to witness how the leadership at the libraries is still in flux as we're trying to fill positions and all, but just so proud of the leadership in my 3 libraries and how they step up to the plate and make sure that they're sent off to different places where they're needed to continue that really high quality that we see in all of the branches. So really pleased with that. I presented the trustees report at the Friends of the San Antonio Public Library. Always a great gathering, isn't it? I'm excited about the World Heritage Center construction that's going on right outside of the doors of Mission Library, and I just know that the future is going to be so bright with collaborations between that group and ours, so that's going to be neat. And then, Judy, to add on to your comment about Jesse Trevino, for 8 years, I worked at Sultan Fuss Library and had the pleasure and honor of working right under the mural of La Historia Chicana, and it's just breathtaking and awesome to have that right here in San Antonio, along with so many of his other works. It's very, very moving.
And many of you mentioned Memorial Branch Library, but I will point out that in your packets, there is a very helpful information card that tells us where to park on Saturday, and I hope many of you will be there as well. Okay, we'll move on to the next item, which is the director's report. Ramiro?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is a written report in your packet, but I would like to elaborate on that report, and I have some items. Thank you, trustees, for mentioning Jesse Trevino. As you know, we have 2 permanent art pieces by Jesse Trevino here in the Central Library. One is the mural that we can see in the wall, and there's another piece as you enter the library to the left. And we will be getting on loan another piece that was displayed and exhibited at the Smithsonian, and that should be in place by the time we reopen the Central Library come April 1st. And the communications team also created not an altar, but a memorial table, and invited via social media members of the public to come and view the art piece by Jesse Trevino. And we had quite a number of members of the public that came and paid tribute to Jesse Trevino. So I wanted to share that with you. I'm also pleased to report that we're also we, meaning staff, are very busy. We're reopening branches. We're returning those branches back to the communities, branches that have been closed for renovation. And so the first one that reopened on Valentine's Day, as Andrea indicated, was the Cortez Branch Library, followed by the Memorial Branch Library, as Madam Chair reported, reopened this Saturday. The staff and the communications team have been planning a very lively party and a festive celebration. We're eager to reopen the doors and invite the community back to the Memorial Branch Library. And as it was reported, the board will be meeting there next month, so you will get to see some of the improvements. So you're not able to make it this Saturday, but I hope you can make it. The ceremony starts at 10 in the morning. Councilwoman Castillo is expected to be in attendance. We are paying tribute to the veterans and the military as part of the events. So that's something the community communicated to us very strongly. Forest Hills will be the next branch library that will reopen, and that branch has been closed for over 2 years. The grand reopening is scheduled for March 18th. And as I just mentioned, the Central Library is scheduled to reopen April 1st, and we're also planning a big party. Jessica and the communications team have great plans. They're getting the mayor involved. So it's going to be fun, and we're just very pleased that we're finally opening the doors to the Central Library. So that's April 1st. And we know that the District 5 libraries, in particular Las Palmas and Memorial, that they have been waiting a long time to get one, for us to deliver a renovated branch library, Memorial, and the other one's to get started renovating the Las Palmas branch library. So we will be working very closely with the community. In fact, we scheduled a community meeting for next Thursday, March 2nd, to announce the next steps to commence the renovation of the Las Palmas branch library. We're proposing to close the Las Palmas branch library on March 8th. Did I get it right? Yes. There's an agenda item, an action item in your agenda, and then I'll talk more about it at that time. The project assessing our partnership and relationship with the Friends of the San Antonio Public Library continues to move forward. We made some, in consultation with a consultant, we made some modifications to the action plan. The consultants will be talking directly to each leadership member of each support group. Initially, we were going to do a sampling, so that's good because we want all voices to be heard. As you approve as part of this year's budget, closing the library 3 times this fiscal year for staff in-service. We had our first in-service on January 27th. All libraries were closed from 10 to 2 p.m. The feedback so far has been very positive. We partnered with Metro Health to provide training on trauma-informed care services. This is a very important training that provides a context for employees in serving patrons, as well as how they present themselves also to the public. So again, positive feedback. It was our first in-service ever for the San Antonio Public Library. And lastly, we will be dedicating the trainer meeting room at the McCreeless Branch Library on March 21st. So you're invited, and please mark your calendars. That concludes my report, Madam Chair. I'm happy to respond to any questions.
Any questions for the director? Can you tell us when the next in-service is, Romero? I'm very impressed with that topic, and I'm eager to know I know you're probably still working out the details of that.
I'm looking at Roberta, and Roberta's looking at me.
I believe it's in May.
Okay. Jessica's getting the date.
We could look back, I guess, at the past meeting minutes. That's fine. You can give it to us. I did want to just say that it's very great to hear that you're picking topics that are so relevant to the entire system, and I'm just excited to hear what you'll be doing next.
Well, I am too. We're excited, and staff are excited, and staff greatly appreciate it. Jessica, do you have the date or not yet? All right, well, all right, so I'm looking at the whole team over there.
And I was looking to see, Jean, did you have? Okay, thank you, May 5th.
Cinco de Mayo.
Jean, did you have a question? I thought I heard something on the line, but I wasn't sure. No, okay.
No, I'm good.
Okay, thank you.
What time is the Thursdays?
The community meeting at 6. I hesitated because we talked about 6:30 at one time, but it's 6.
That's the Las Palmas?
Las Palmas.
Community meeting, okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The next item is the budget report. Gabriella?
Good afternoon. Y'all can hear me over there. Okay. So I'm here to provide you with the report for the board budget as of the end of January. If you're viewing it online, it starts on page 70, which is on the frame sheets in your packet. As of the end of January, 33% of the fiscal year has passed, and we're at, bottom line, we're at 36% spent, including encumbrances, or 33% without them. So overall, we're right in line with spending as of the end of January. There's no major updates from last month, but I did did just want to point out that we are continuing to use overtime. And although it shows we're like 1,500% spent, it's nothing to be alarmed about. Everything that we're doing is, we're able to cover that within our current fiscal year budget. So there's no need for alarm there. This month, new on the report, you'll see that we have the calendar year 23 Library Foundation gift listed on the back. We've been working with the foundation to finalize those numbers, and so we just wanted to thank them for the hard work that goes into that and the contribution to the library system. Calendar year 22 gifts from the foundation and the Friends have been 100% expended or encumbered, so that will drop off for next month, and we will just show the calendar year 23 gifts moving forward. That completes my overview, so if you have any questions, I'll take them now.
Next item is the report from the executive committee, and we did meet on February 14th to set the agenda for this meeting. Next, we have a report from the budget committee. We did meet on the 15th, and I believe Kathy will be providing an update. Is that correct, Kathy?
Item later in the agenda to present some budget needs for the library system. So we'll take that up a little bit later in the agenda.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Kathy, I made you rise up for that. Next is a report from the facilities committee. Andrea?
Facilities Committee did meet, and you're going to hear some updates.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, the Facilities Committee did meet on February 8th. We had one item that was recommended for action, and that will be brought up later in the agenda. And then we had several items that will be discussed as project updates. We'll cover several of those projects tonight, and then, but the construction report is in your packet if you have any other questions on any of the other projects we have going on. The first project is the World Heritage Visitor Center. So they have started that project. They put fencing up back in January. The notice to proceed was issued in January. That project is going to include a visitor center, gallery space, collaborative space, and additional parking. The next slide will kind of show an overview of the site plan, so you can see the new parking to the right. They're going to sweep around the ring road there, and then they'll have the building in the middle. Now, part of this project is going to require some serious road work on that ring road. So the next slide is going to show us the phase 1 utility work, which has not started yet. They are still working on SAWS permits to get everything in place. But you see that red section on the ring road, that's the utility work right there in the middle. What they're going to do when they're ready to start, and we have not got a schedule yet for this, but we'll be sure to post it once we do, is they're going to close off that center section of the ring road. So anybody who wants to go to the YMCA will have to come in through the VFW access road, and then anyone who wants to go to the library will have to come in through the Roosevelt exit. Now that's phase 1 of the project, so you'll have 2 ways in and 2 ways out. Once that piece is done and they open up the center ring road, next slide will show that they're going to have to close the entrance at Roosevelt, because in order to put the parking lot, the new parking lot in that little green space there, they have to create a new approach in the driveway, and that's going to require them to close that entrance at Roosevelt for probably 2 or 3 weeks, they're saying. I'll believe that when I see it, but they're going to be putting all kinds of signage up, and so what we'll be doing is at that time we'll be redirecting all library traffic and YMCA traffic to the VFW road, and then that'll come in through the ring road. It'll be a little bit confusing, but we'll be working very closely with Public Works and with World Heritage Office to make sure it's as seamless and smooth as possible and as little inconvenience to our patrons as possible. So. And we'll be bringing more updates as we get closer along on that.
Are into the slides. Are there any questions about that? Josie, did you?
There's across the street from the front, there's a large community. And there's a lot of foot traffic of those folks that come across Roosevelt to the library. And that main entrance is closed off. Is that just foot traffic as well?
We will definitely look into that, yeah. We'll make sure that we have that covered, that whatever pedestrian access there is will be maintained. Shouldn't be a problem, so Yeah, but we'll definitely be sure to bring that up to them, yes. Mhm.
I was just curious, like, do we have a rendering of what the actual project is, the completed project? What are they, the building visitor center?
Parking, I'm trying to recall the details.
Yeah, we'd have to go back to, I don't have that with us here. If you go back one more, 2 slides, actually. So this one, yeah, they've got the outdoor walking connectivity, landscape beautification, multi-purpose collaboration space, gallery space, visitor center, and then drainage improvements to include a bioswale. So
And was it shown in the next slide, like how much of that green space they actually, just out of curiosity?
the next slide. No, the previous one, yeah. So the bioswale is going to be up near the front between Roosevelt, and you can see kind of the arrow there pointing at, and so that's going to be a little bioswale area that will be in place. And then the various other parking pieces they've got laid out there. We can get the presentation they gave previously
Yes.
and provide that to you. Yeah.
That would be great, thank you.
Great, because it has been a few months since we really discussed this, now that
Yep.
we're getting back into it again, yeah. Okay.
It does look like Josie gave a comment for
Crosswalk, though, in the future plan, yeah.
Okay. We can move on, I guess, to Memorial if we're good on mission. Okay. So the Memorial branch, as was mentioned earlier, we're going to be reopening that this Saturday. Very excited about that. Lots of improvements in the space. We've been waiting a long time to get that building open. They'll be stopping interim service at the Marianist Archive on Friday, and then they will resume all services at the branch on Saturday at 10 a.m. We've got a couple of interior pictures to show, just to give you a little sneak peek. We've got some shelving going in place. It's got books on it now, so we're in good shape. So Saturday's going to be a real exciting day. So looking forward to it. The next one then is going to be Forest Hills. And again, Ramiro keeps stealing all my thunder. So we're going to be reopening Memorial Hill on Forest Hills, Memorial Hill. Okay, Forest Hills on March 18th. That one they've been providing interim service through Gilbert Garza, and they'll be continuing that until that Friday beforehand. So we're really excited about that project again, and it's going to be another big party on March 18th. Central Library, again, we're going to be reopening that on April 1st for the first floor and the third floor. We'll be reopening the main entrances, and we'll have all kinds of activities going on and new stuff for people to see up on the third floor and the first floor. We've got a couple pictures here of the new service desks that are going in on the first floor there and the third floor. So those still they're getting some stone on the front and some new countertops and whatnot, so that's all going to be coming in the next couple of weeks. So it's going to be busy here at Central for the next couple of weeks, or next couple of months, actually. So next slide would be Cortez. Cortez, we did reopen on February 14th. So that project is, we're just winding down a few things with the contractor, finishing off a few project closeout things that we got to take care of, but that's rolling along smoothly. And then the last update we have is for the Brook Hollow Library, which is another HVAC project. This is one we've been waiting on quite a while for equipment to come in. Our contractor informs us that most of the equipment has arrived. They're still waiting on a few pieces left that are supposed to be coming in the next couple weeks. Because of the extended closure we had at Cortez, and we found out that parts that we were expecting to come in didn't, we would just as soon wait until all parts are here before we announce a closure date. As you'll recall, you have given the director the discretion to do them closure dates. So once we have a confirmation from our contractor that they're ready to proceed, we will then look at the calendar and determine the best closure date and let everyone know, providing enough opportunity for the public to be aware of that closure that's coming up. And we'll line up the interim service for that project. We are anticipating that's going to take a couple of months to do that project. So, but I think right now we're kind of not putting reopening dates out there just yet. So we'll work on the closure date first. But we're probably looking at, hopefully mid to late March for that. If we find out in the next couple of weeks or the next week or two that parts came in, we should be able to close that soon and get things going on. We are going to be keeping the meeting room available for voting at Brook Hollow, so that's on a separate HVAC system, so that will be available for voting. We'll be able to keep that branch open for that. So, but any questions on any of the project updates?
Hollow, because that community uses we know like the council person and the community use that library so much, it'd probably be good to be in close communication once Ramiro and the team establish the dates so that they have a heads up as to what the closures are. I think you'll hear about it if you aren't the one to share that news, Susan. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you. Beth does? Beth, you can come off mute if you have a question. I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand come up. Can you hear us, Beth?
Is that better?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Sorry, the space bar isn't working to unmute me for some reason. And I'm sorry.
No problem.
I wanted to ask on the first floor service desk, will that polished cut granite be reused? I see that the configuration is kind of like the original desk. Will any of that granite be reused down there?
Yes, we use stone that copies the original, so it looks very much like the old desk, yes. Just a lot smaller, yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Were you asking about the material being reused, Beth?
Yes.
I think she's asking if that material will be reused.
It wasn't actually reused because they weren't able to take it off in one piece, but we did get identical material we were able to get the same stone, the same sandstone. Yeah, so that's all good, yeah.
Thank you.
Answer, Beth.
All right, thank you.
And thank you for joining, Beth. I think Sydney's made a note that you've joined us in attendance. Okay. Next, the naming committee did not meet this reporting period. Okay, thank you. And then next is a report from the PR and Advocacy Committee. Jean?
The PR committee did meet, and I think Jessica's going to give the report.
Okay, thank you.
Public Relations and Advocacy Committee met on February 16, 2023, and there is an action item in today's agenda regarding the Ella Awards, the Exceptional Library Leadership Award. So it will be an action item. That was the majority of the meeting.
Next, a report from the Ad Hoc Board Policy Committee.
We did not meet. Actually, it was my fault. I just plain forgot. And then I think somebody else did too. So thanks to Dale, we're going to reschedule.
Okay, thank you, Jean, and thank you, Dale. And then next we have a report from the Ad Hoc ILA Committee. And Paul is not here. I can provide, I guess, the initial insight that we did meet on February 14th, and we have, we're going to table this report for the end of the meeting. Okay, so next is item number 13, a report from the San Antonio Public Library Foundation. And in Amy's place, we have Jessica Rivera here. Welcome, Jessica.
Our board is hard at work networking with local foundations to identify more grant opportunities for libraries. In January, we had a board meeting where we went over the grant process and they looked over grant prospects and how they can help us network with these family foundations. So our board is now energized to network and assist us with these local family foundations. After that board meeting, one of our board members, after looking at our list, realized that her family foundation was on that list, and she didn't even realize that we would qualify for a grant from them. So she's going to help us with that now. As a result of that meeting, we will continue working with the library administrative staff to identify funding opportunities of all sizes so that we can prepare to go after these new grant opportunities. Also, our board recruitment efforts are in full swing. This year, we will not be having a mid-year class like we did last year, so if you have any recommendations for us, we will need them by July, and you can send those directly to Amy. And as it was mentioned earlier, our first installment of our $212,000 annual gift to the library, we've given that out, or we're working on that one for a little bit over $100,000. I'm going to read this list because it's a long list. This will be used for the summer reading program to include book giveaways and incentives, improvement and enhancement of the travel collection, utilization project with Texana, program support for children, adult and older adults, large print books and ebooks, professional development for children's librarians for dyslexia, support for the Enhanced Library Card Initiative, replacement of a teen 3D printer and other programming supplies, teleconferencing equipment for a branch library, and AWE early literacy stations. And lastly, our SAPLF annual report, which will be the kickoff to our 40th anniversary celebration, will be mailed pretty soon in the next coming days, so it should be hitting everybody's mailbox pretty soon. That's it.
Thank you for the report, Jessica. Thank you for the gift, and please express our gratitude to both Amy and to the wider board. Next, item number 14 is a report from the Friends of the San Antonio Public Library, and I think, Jessica, were you going to assist with delivering that?
Afternoon. John Costello, the president of the Friends of the San Antonio Public Library, sends his regrets. He was called away to a last-minute meeting and is unable to join the board meeting this evening. He did ask me to report that on January the 29th, the Friends of the San Antonio Public Library held a successful annual meeting, and new officers were elected, new board members were elected, and he is very excited to get to work with the new board for the Friends of the San Antonio Public Library. And that concludes the report.
Staff report, presentation on budget needs for FY24.
Budget Committee has met and begun its work. They met in January, they met in February, and so tonight the committee has asked us to present to you the budget needs. I'm on the next slide, Edward. There we go. So tonight we'll give presentations to the full board on the budget needs of the library system, and Dale and I will walk you through those. The reason the work started so early this year is the goal is for the board to set its budget priorities in advance of the council goal setting on policy issues, which this year has been scheduled for April 13th. So this will allow the board to hear the presentations tonight, take action at your next meeting about your priorities, and then that will lead up to the April 13th City Council goal setting. The board priorities do focus on improving the classes. It's called in the city's process, which includes additions to the general library. So this is to do more and new things. And again, next month would be when the board would take action on ranking their budget priorities. So next slide. So this is a summary from the highest ask to the lowest ask of the library system's budget needs for improvements. And I wanted to give a summary first of those needs, and then we'll walk through each one of them more specifically. I did want to mention two things. One is that these numbers are very rough order of magnitude kind of numbers. The Budget Committee did ask that we give you some idea of what those numbers would look like, but we have a lot more work to do to refine it. So please don't quote me on these numbers. They're very, very likely to change as the process goes along, but it gives you some rough idea of scale. And then the other thing is, while this listing is from highest 1.1 million for collection down to the lowest amount as the committee asked us, just for ease of presentation, I'll present all the areas in my area of responsibility, and then Dale will come up and present the rest. So we're presenting them a little bit out of order, but this listing on this slide will give you from highest to lowest. And then one final thing, we wouldn't normally include so much wording on the slides, but we wanted you to be able to take those slides away with you. You should have a hard copy in front of you, so that as you think about these needs over the next month in anticipation of the March board meeting, you kind of have that detail with you. Of course, if you later have questions after the meeting today, please feel free to contact me, and we'll be happy to try to answer any questions as you think about this, for the next month in advance of the March board meeting. So the first area of need is collection of books and materials. This is, of course, all of the materials that we provide throughout the library system, both physical items, digital items, circulating items, non-circulating items. And we completed a pretty major milestone in the current fiscal year 23, because we received $1.5 million as an addition to our recurring general fund budget. And that actually funded 1 year early our 5-year collection development plan. So that was very exciting. However, we do not want to rest on our laurels, so we are moving forward into the next part of the collection development plan. While the last one that was fully funded was very focused on getting to median per capita expenditures, which we successfully did. So among our peers, we wanted to at least achieve being in the middle for per capita expenditures on materials. This next plan is really aspirational. So the request is 1 million addition to our recurring book budget. And then additionally, because we've been adding to the book budget, we do have included in this request 1 additional employee in our processing group. So you can imagine, as we increase our expenditures on books and materials, we have a need for kind of back of house resources to make sure those materials are made ready for the community. The results, because the budget committee asked us to be very focused on what does that investment get for the community. It starts the aspirational plan that I mentioned a moment ago. So we don't want to just be at median. Now we really want to be best in class. We have had very large growth in the digital area, so digital materials. And so this addresses some of those needs. And in general, digital materials are actually more expensive than physical materials because of the way the pricing structure works for libraries. So this would address some of those needs. It would add about 16,000 items to the collection, so a significant number. That would result in about 300,000 additional checkouts. And then 2 very important metrics we keep a close eye on is wait time for popular materials. We always want to bring that down. So this would allow us to reduce the wait time for popular materials from about 18 days to 14 days. It also would reduce our holds ratio. So how many times does a person need to request an item before we order another copy, basically? So that is another measure of what we look at in terms of how responsive our collection is. We're always keeping a focus on providing a very diverse and inclusive collection. So this would allow us to continue that focus. And then the additional team member in the processing group in our technical services unit. So that is books and materials. Would you like me to just keep going, just for you to wait for questions on each, or?
I think in the interest of time, let's have you keep going, and then if trustees have any specific questions, take them at the end.
Then the next area is digital inclusion. This request is for roughly $600,000, and it is for 2, generally speaking, 2 initiatives. One is, it is additional staffing to staff with the digital services area, but also the adult services area, and it's connected with the older adults device lending program, as well as some other staffing needs in those areas. You'll probably recall that the older adults lending program loans iPads out for a 6-month period of time, and then it also includes a curriculum to help folks who check out those devices with digital literacy and other resources. So this would be to add an FTE to support that program, but also some other areas of adult services. And then also on the digital services side, which is one of the groups I supervise, you can imagine that as we start lending devices, there's a lot of hardware support that goes into that, both with what apps are on there, but also, of course, every time a device comes back, we have to wipe it clean of any data to, protect the privacy of the customer. So that would be an added FTE there. In addition, we're really focused on our IT roadmap, and one of the projects that's included in this funding request is an assessment of all of the public-facing technology in the library system. So it's everything from going up to a internet computer, signing up to use one, using it, printing, copying, but also things like self-check. And so this assessment would look at accessibility, with a primary focus on customers with disabilities. So for example, if you're deaf, how do you interact with that technology, and is it accessible? Or if you're in a wheelchair, et cetera. So that would be an assessment basically of public technology in the library system. The results of those you can see there: increased digital literacy, addressing accessibility issues through an action plan based on the assessment that we do with the funds, more equitable service, and also turning what was a grant-funded program with the older adult program into a sustainable ongoing program now that we've expended that grant funding. Okay, the next area is a roughly $400,000 ask for facilities, operations, and security. As you very well know, we have a very large library system, 30 buildings, over 650,000 square feet that we manage. And our facilities and security teams do a great job, along with our public service staff, to maintain all those buildings and to provide security for those buildings. This particular request is to convert 3 part-time maintenance worker positions to full-time. Those maintenance worker positions are primarily custodial positions. These are library employees. Also, to ask for 1 additional FTE, 1 additional employee for the area of security. And just very briefly, for this building, we provide the overnight security for the whole library system by staffing the overnight hours here in Central. And that way, if an alarm goes off, or if the alarm goes off in this building, the ventilation system actually pops the doors open. So you can see why we would need to have someone for on-site overnight security for the library system. So that would allow us to cover all the overnight hours with that resource. And then finally, there are 2 end-of-life facilities vehicles that are included in this request. This would allow us to cover the security schedule more appropriately, replace the vehicles that are end of life, and then also to increase our custodial resources, and also provide equity for the part-time employees, because we really do try to focus on converting things to full-time whenever we can. Okay, and with that, I'll turn it over to Dale.
Okay, so the next item that we're going to describe is, I almost read Kathy's last one, outreach. And so this is an improvement request to provide focused library services outside the library buildings in communities of need. It would be roughly, as Kathy said, these are rough estimates to give you order of magnitude, $850,000. This would be for a new vehicle, a new bookmobile vehicle that would be accessible to the whole community. That is to say, to people with disabilities. That's what I'm really trying to say there. And staff to operate the bookmobile. Then also, it would take the teen vehicle that we have, the Vroom vehicle, and add some staff. We use that vehicle now. It's very successful, but obviously, if we had staff dedicated to it, we could provide a lot more service than someone doing it just as they're able to. And then, of course, a little bit of funding to let the public know about those services. And then you can see there that the numbers that we've developed, but we would have more teen outreach during the year, and of course, a lot more service to people in the community outside of the library through the new bookmobile. So the next slide is children's services. So we provide, I believe, truly excellent children's services at the level, the highest level I've seen at any public library. So this is really just to truly what we call an improvement. This is really just to improve what we're already doing very well. This really is a staffing request, and this would add some children's librarians, librarian ones, to some specific locations where there is a need. So every one of our libraries has a children's librarian right now. The classification is librarian 2. This would give us an entry-level position, which frankly is a lot easier to recruit for. It gives us then a little more depth. So we have, some locations would have 2 children's librarians. That's really what this would do. And then also this would expand the staff in the Little Red Wagon, which I'm sure you all are familiar with. That's our really award-winning and nationally recognized program that focuses on early literacy, and it's a service that's provided outside of the library locations. The same philosophy is applied inside the library, but Little Red Wagon is outside of the library locations. And we have set goals for those as well. The next one is Learn at SAPL. Of course, that is our program that for adult education. It's a library service model of adult education. So we help people as they come in. You don't sign up for a class and wait for someone to help you. You come in and someone helps you right away. It isn't a classroom setting. For classroom education, our staff direct people to other community resources, so we're not duplicating something that's available elsewhere in the community. So what this would do is add additional staff for the Central Library Learn location, which would help us expand the hours there. We are providing services here at Central now, so that would add to that. And then in the Las Palmas renovation, we have design space for a Learn, but to get the additional staff, we have to do an improvement. So this would add what we call a training officer. That's the teacher for adults. It would be a request for that position at the Las Palmas Library. And you can see there that we have worked out some outcomes for that area as well. So the last thing that I'm going to talk about is general programming, public awareness, and innovation. And this request is really, it's in support services, communication, and public services, but in the interest of presenting it smoothly, it's going to be my presentation. So what this is about $200,000. So it's a relatively small ask. It would be, we have, I believe, truly excellent public programs available for people of all ages, children, teens, adults. A lot of that we provide, nobody charges anything for it. But some presenters, of course, do charge, and there are other opportunities. Right now, through the generous work of the foundation, we're able to have paid presenters, and the Friends as well. We're able to have some paid presenters. But what this would do, it would be a request for funding for programming for the public in the operating budget. There would be some communication for the public. Obviously, if we had more programming, we need to let the public know that we're having the programs. And then we have a program for staff that we call the Idea Incubator, where basically staff members say, hey, I think it would be good if we did the following. And this would request some small amount of funding, so that if there's a staff idea like that, that costs money to implement it. Many of them we can implement without cost, but it would give us a kind of a fund we could use for that, what we call Idea Incubator. But that's not, the largest part of this really is for public programming that, again, that would be for the different age groups and give us a operating fund kind of base that we would be able to start with each year. So those are the areas that I had to cover. I think Kathy is going to cover the next steps. I'll just stay up here at the podium in case you have questions for either of us, then I'm already here.
That's a great suggestion. Let's pause for a moment before you talk about next steps, Kathy, and see if any trustees have questions, and I'll just read each of them. I think it would be easier if we just go slide by slide. So the first one was collection of books and materials. Any questions on that one? And if, I can't see those of you online, so please just come off mute if you have a question online. The next one is outreach and awareness.
Okay, just brief. I just have an overall comment.
Yes.
Okay, my overall comment is I want to congratulate the staff on this presentation and all the work that's gone into it. I think it's the most thorough budget presentation that I've heard in all these years. Y'all got really prepared to do this, and it's going to make our job harder to pick all these things out. But the problem is, you submit something like this to the city manager, and he'll say, gosh, I didn't know we needed all this. So I think you all have done a remarkable job, and I just want to say that out loud, and thank you.
Thank you for that comment, Jean. I agree. Okay, so continuing, digital inclusion is the next one. Any questions on digital inclusion?
So I had a question on digital inclusion, and I guess it's more of a I wonder, and if that full-time position would help with this. I know, like, with any devices that go out to just outside of the library, you said that the older adults get to keep them for 6 months. How do updates run on those? Are they pushed out through, like, the IT system? Do they actually have to physically bring them back into the library to get updates?
We're going to phone a friend.
Hi, I'm Morgan Yoshimura. I'm our coordinator of services to adults, and I have been overseeing the device lending project. So as far as the updates are set so that if there's so they're Apples, they're iPads. So if there's an iOS update, it just goes automatically. And I think at most, just the user just gets the notification that there was an update, they click OK, and they move on. So
That's
yeah,
amazing.
Yep.
That's what I was thinking of. If they have to come in, there's a new update, every month?
Right.
So I love that it's just automatically pushed through. They don't have to worry about it.
And I will say that that's thanks to, as Kathy mentioned, part of the need for this project is on the hardware wrangling side, and it's really the digital services staff that have taken care of all of those, making sure that all of that happens so that when it gets to the user, it's as smooth as of an experience as possible.
And I think that's definitely a positive when and if we choose this to advocate for it, that it truly takes the ease out of, the troubles of technology.
Excuse me, this is Beth. Is there any way we could see the slides for each category as we're going through?
Yep, can you do
Yes,
that for us,
that's
Edward?
possible.
We're on digital inclusion.
I'm just going to add a comment to what Morgan said, which is to say that this has these two positions included. They would not be full-time on this project at all. It's more that we're kind of, for the staff who are working on this, we're kind of to the one more thing is just not possible. So they would be working on, other digital initiatives for the library and other adult education initiatives for the library as well. This is not two full-time positions, to loan some iPads.
Next is facility operations and
I have a
security.
question on the digital still. So when you have the digital and, you have the digital books and then you have the digital books that are read, and those got to be the most expensive, how do you determine how much goes into the budget? Like, if his,
Yeah, so generally speaking, we have a collection development strategist, Roy Holes, who does a great job.
And so we actually look at both the content, but also the format, to kind of balance what the demand is for whether somebody wants to check out an ebook or a physical material for a particular title. And then he also looks at cost per use. So we're trying to strike that balance. And some people are totally agnostic. They don't care if it's an ebook or it's a physical book, they just want a certain title, right? So he does a materials allocation plan where he looks very carefully at both content, but also format and then cost per use to try to maximize what we're delivering to the community for the money we spend. Yeah.
I always think it would be nice to get a list of the new additions, to our digital library. It seems like I always have to go on, they go, oh, that's not there yet, and they go on the next, It'd be nice to have, or do we have that somewhere, a comprehensive list?
Well, we have something where we market new content through badges on our website. It's called Wowbrary. So that is a good way to kind of keep pulse on what's new and available. Yeah. Does that help?
Yeah, that does help.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't realize.
Kathy, doesn't Wowbrary still have push notices to people who have signed up for that service?
Yes.
So that you get notified weekly, I believe, of the new editions.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
That comment, Beth, and that question, Marcy. Next is facility operations and security. Any questions on this one? Any questions? Okay, next is outreach. Have any questions on outreach? Next is on, the next one is children's services. Did we have any questions about the children's services?
I have just a question about how many employees do we currently have assigned to the Little Red Wagon? Do we have?
7 employees.
Oh, okay, and so the proposed is to add an additional 3, okay. And then how many vehicles do we have?
Great. I knew it was either 3 or 4.
Thought of adding another vehicle come up in the budget process?
Adding another vehicle, but there is one vehicle that's end of life that is a replacement as part of this request.
I mean, I think that program is amazing, so just wondering how we can fill that up more. And then this question kind of goes over everything, and just because and I might be going too far, but the last slide says this funding request would be reoccurring sustainable funding in the library's base budget. So are all of these topics going to be reoccurring?
It's a mix.
Okay.
And what I could do is break that out for you and send that to the board. In short, anything that is personnel is recurring, the book budget request is recurring, but there are some one-time items. So the public technology accessibility project is one-time, vehicles are one-time. So we could definitely follow up and kind of send a split out. Yeah.
I was figuring, so the positions are most likely going to be reoccurring, and then some of the other items probably would fall off.
So I just want to clarify one of the answers and make sure everyone was clear on that. So Judy asked about if there was a vehicle included in children's services, and the answer was no. But Kathy did inform us that one of the 2 facility vehicles that's being replaced as end of life is included. One of them is the little red wagon, it sounds like.
I think we just failed to put the vehicle on the slide for children's service.
So it comes under the children's, okay.
Replacement for children's.
And it's included in this rough estimate of dollar, okay.
And Kathy, to add to that, my question, do the 3 vehicles meet the needs that are out there? Mm-hmm.
What I'm going to say is we can provide a little more information, but we scoped this to need in the community. Of course, if we added, yet more staff and another vehicle, I think we could probably, reach more people. But of course, with every budget request, you have to kind of figure out a kind of reasonable size of it. So that's where we kind of, I say we, like I was here, I was on vacation. But the staff who worked on it, who did a remarkable job, really we're just looking at kind of a right size request.
Any other questions on children's service?
Could we have this in a separate email?
Can these slides be sent as a separate email? Kathy is saying yes, yes.
Is address some of the questions that you've asked so far. So we can address the recurring one time. When we send it back out, we can make that adjustment to the children's services slide because I failed to put that replacement vehicle listed. And then when several board members say something, we definitely take it into account, of course. So we could have a further conversation with Crescencia about, is it that you just need net 3 still, or is there a need to potentially actually expand the number of vehicles? Well, we can do all that and resend out the slides.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one is Learn at SAPL. Any questions on Learn at SAPL? On Learn at SAPL, and then the last one, I believe this is the last one, is General Programming, Public Awareness, and Innovation. Any questions on General Programming, Public Awareness, and Innovation? I had 2 questions on this one. For your outcomes, you have this annual number of public programming, 3,000, 2,000, and 2,000. Are these all net new, or are you just saying what the final number would be with the addition?
Latter.
Okay.
So this one is really to ensure the sustainability of the programming we offer now. So right now, we basically have almost 0 in our recurring base budget for programming. We really do rely on the foundation, primarily now the foundation, for that annual gift. And so this would ensure that we can continue to do the programs we do now. And so that just represents an annual number of programming, not additional.
And then a question about the IDEA Incubator seed funding. Can patrons submit ideas for the incubator?
In a sense, yes, because we get input from the community, and whenever we get that input, like I just got one for a capital improvement at a particular branch, we consider those. The idea incubator itself is staff ideas.
And Kathy, you were going to take us through the next steps and what to expect in the March board meeting as well.
I just want to emphasize that these needs are improvement needs. Of course, there's other things we submit in the budget process. Those would still be submitted. So it's things like, revenue budget, capital budget, all of those things. But this presentation focuses on improvements for the board to consider. And so the Budget Committee asked us to present today, which we have, and then next month you'd have the opportunity to do further deliberations, of course, ask any additional questions you have, and then do an exercise to kind of rank the priorities so that we have a final ranking. At that meeting, I believe that Ramiro and Jaspreet talked about having the director also present his professional recommendation for a ranking. So that could also be taken into account as the board makes a final, prioritization. So that would happen at the March board meeting. The other item we would suggest the board think about is at that meeting, talk about those advocacy steps leading up to goal setting, just to kind of formalize what will happen. The reason we're suggesting that is it is a fairly tight timeline between the March board meeting and the goal setting session on April 13th. So it could be things like the board decides that the board chair will send a letter, communicating the board's action and priorities, that type of thing. And so now, of course, one other next step is we'll send the email that the board's asked for with those things we just talked about, recurring one time, making that addition to the children's slide, and the answers to any of the other questions you've asked so far.
Questions on the next steps? I think many of you have been here for this, we've used stickers to do our voting. We'll probably do something similar, I think, for that. Okay. Thank you so much, Kathy. Thank you, Dale. And thank you to your teams that help provide that information.
Okay. We'll adjust the temperature.
Okay.
93 outside.
93.
Okay, next we have some recommendations regarding the Ella Awards. And this is on behalf of the Public Relations and Advocacy Committee.
Afternoon. On behalf of the Public Relations and Advocacy Committee, I will share with you information about the Ella Awards for 2023. Via email on Monday, library trustees received information about the recommendation from the committee. It is also included in your packet today for your reference. Today I will give you a brief overview of the process and then share with you the recommendation of the awardees for the 2023 Ellas. The background is in 2020, the Ella Awards, which stands for Exceptional Library Leaders and Advocates Award, was called for in 2020 pre-pandemic. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, the library board was not able to deliver the awards or consider the nominations. Essentially, a week after the nominations closed, the city shut down, and we did not pick up the Ella Awards until this January. So the 2020 submissions were held onto, but no action was taken. There were 12 nominations received at that time. Now in 2022, the Library PR and Advocacy Committee began working on the Ella nominations for 2023. So in January, the nominations were opened, and it was open for the duration of January 2023. 13 nominations were received, and the committee reviewed both the 2020 nominees as well as the 2023 nominees together as part of this submission. So you'll see a large number recommended from this committee, and that's because it essentially covers 20, 21, 22, and 23. Next slide. So for 2023, the PR and Advocacy Committee developed a scoring criteria by which all nominations as part of the 2023 process would be scored against, and those are here for you today. It's a 50-point scale. Advancing the library's mission was 20 points. Positive impact to the local community or neighborhood was 20 points, and advancing diversity, inclusion, and equity was 10 points. While all of the nomination information included the scoring criteria, so anybody making a recommendation would be aware of the criteria by which it would be scored against. So that is important to share. And you will see on these next two slides is the recommendation from the Public Relations and Advocacy Committee. In green is the 2020 nominations. In purple are the 2023 nominations. So, or did I flip it? Yes, purple is 2020, green is 2023. Thank you. So you'll see that they're listed in order, no preference, essentially just listed together. Because things change and time changes, you'll see the symphony was listed, that, and some other, the Friends of Pan American Library in 2019 was a teen-led initiative. Unfortunately, pandemic impacted that, so that group is right now not active, but in 2019, 2020, it was active. So those are a couple nuances related, but these are the groups that are being recommended for an Ella Award for 2023 Ella Award. And then in the next slide, you will see the individuals who are nominated and recommended from the Public Relations and Advocacy Committee. And you have the complete list in your packet, broken down by groups and individuals, and they're also color-coded on that document as well. Also for your reference is a complete nomination description for each nominee, and that is provided as well for you in case you have any questions about any of the nominations. And I will pause and let you review that and see if you have any questions, and we can go to next steps.
The PR Advocacy Committee, of which there are many members, can probably speak to.
No questions, but I just wanted to mention that on the committee, we notated that there was a lot of teens in this list and a lot of teen groups, or the group of teens. And as a committee, we thought that was really amazing because, you know, the teens are getting involved and they're taking initiatives, and just wanted to share that with the board if you weren't able to read through all of the nominations. Yeah.
And I believe this is also an action item, right, Jessica?
Yes.
So if there are not any questions, we will, of course, entertain a motion.
Have a slide. The last slide is a recommendation if the board would like to entertain.
I'll motion to, sorry, Jean. I'll motion to accept the recommendation from the board's Public Relations and Advocacy Committee to award 2023 Exceptional Library Leaders and Advocate Award as presented.
Second?
Yes, I am going to second.
Okay, excellent. So we have a second, and then Sydney, I'll ask you to conduct a roll call vote, please.
Jean Brady,
Yay.
Joanne Harris,
Yay.
Josie Martinez, Andrea Sanchez Muniz,
Yay.
Norma Montalvo is absent. Fernanda Carnedas is absent. Paul Stahl is absent. Marcy Ince. Beth Graham.
Aye.
Judy Cruz. Jaspreet Kaur.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Jean and Jessica and team for putting together, bringing the Ella Awards back for us. I think that's very exciting. Next, we have the request to close the Las Palmas Branch Library, and Kathy will be providing us a quick presentation on that.
Yes, she will, but I asked her if I could introduce the subject because I would like to ask the library board for some flexibility, and it will also give me an opportunity. Earlier I said in my director's report we were closing, I think, March 8th or something like that. I meant March 13th. I remember that because 13th is a lucky day. So the request that I am making from the library board is some flexibility. Right now we're shooting for March 13th, and I have advised the stakeholder groups from Las Palmas. I did receive one email yesterday, a little concern about spring break. They were closing during spring break. So I would like the board to consider this request, but to allow library administration to consider also March 20th, which would be a week after March 13th. I'd like some flexibility if I can, so as I work with the community and the stakeholders to make a final decision fairly quick. So the action that's being requested today is for either March 13th or March 20th after consultation with key stakeholders of the Las Palmas Branch Library. And then Kathy can continue with the rest of the item.
Tonight, we're super excited that Memorial's reopening on Saturday, and hence we can bring you a Las Palmas closure date. As Ramiro mentioned, the idea was that Las Palmas would close after Memorial reopens, so Memorial reopens Saturday. Also, this date that we're proposing, and now with some flexibility to possibly do it a week later, as Ramiro mentioned, allows us to activate interim service. So we're hot on the trail of an option for interim service. It's looking very positive. We're in kind of final stages on that. And then, of course, to reassign the Las Palmas staff for the duration of the construction. And so just to give you a couple of project details real quick. So as y'all will recall, Las Palmas was the bond project where there was funding in the 2017 bond. Given the wonderful visioning and input from the community, it became very clear that that wasn't going to be enough money to do the improvements that the community really wanted. So the board supported the library in going all the way back through the bond process, and now we have a 2022 project that basically doubles the budget for this one. So all of that design is underway. We have architects assigned for the total project. Of course, once we bring design forward to facilities committee and then the board, will have a project schedule associated with it. And then there'll be the customary communication both about the closure, but also about the project. And then, as Ramiro mentioned earlier, we are going to have a community meeting held at Las Palmas about this project on March 2nd. So with that, we're asking for board action tonight for a closure date. And just to kind of reiterate what Ramiro said, what we're really asking for is the board to take action for a closure date of either March 13th or March 20th with some administrative flexibility for the director.
Something similar for Brook Hollow as well. Yeah.
I have a question. Now, will that March 20th be at the end of the spring break for the children in that area?
In that school, in that area,
Oh, okay.
Yes, in that
Okay.
area is what I understand, yes.
Okay, good.
Action item? Yes, Beth or Jean?
I move that we close the Las Palmas Library either the 13th or 20th as Ramiro sees fit, and that we get this underway.
Thank you, Jean. I'll second. And a second from Judy. Thank you both. And then Sydney.
Brady?
Aye.
Joanne Harris? Josie Martinez? Andrea Sanchez Muniz?
Aye.
Norma Montalvo is absent. Fernanda Cardenas is absent. Paul Stahl is absent. Marcy Ince? Yes. Beth Graham?
Aye.
Cruz? Jaspreet Kaur? Motion passes.
Next, we have approval of library board committee appointments for fiscal year 24, I believe this would be. And I am just looking to see, yes, we do have the update. So the pink sheet in your packet has, I believe, all the latest committee assignments, including Norma, who is our new District 5 trustee, who is also shared with Paul her committee interests, and she's on the facilities committee. So I will entertain a motion or accept a motion to accept the committee assignments and liaison assignments as listed.
Because one of the committee meetings I was in, I think they were talking about the public relation committee could have too many board members. No.
It's not that it has too many. I had made a comment about ensuring there was balance between those, but I have not had an opportunity to talk to Paul about that. Thank you, Joanne.
I do have a clarification. I believe that today's action is to appoint Ms. Harris to the ILA.
Oh, it
ad
is,
hoc
okay.
committee.
Okay. So we've already confirmed our committee assignments, right, last 2 months ago, I think. Okay, thank you. So the change, let me start this item over, because I misstated that. So the item that we will be considering is the ad hoc ILA committee, which currently has 4 members, Paul, Jean, myself, and Judy, and we're going to be adding a 5th member, which is Joanne Harris. And I assume this is not a surprise for you, Joanne? Okay, very good. And so I will entertain a motion to add Joanne Harris to the ad hoc ILA committee.
So moved. This is Beth.
Okay, it sounds like Jean made a motion and Beth seconded that. Did I hear that correctly?
However you want to do it, just breathe.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. And then Sydney, if you could assist us with a roll call vote, please.
Jean Brady?
Aye.
Joanne Harris?
Yay.
Josie Martinez? Aye. Andrea Sanchez Muniz?
Aye.
Norma Montalvo is absent. Fernanda Cardenas is absent. Paul Stahl is absent. Marcy Ince? Beth Graham?
Aye.
Judy Cruz? Jaspreet Kaur?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, and then next, we will be entering executive session, so I'm going to read this. The Board of Trustees of the San Antonio Public Library will begin its executive session pursuant to the Government Code Section 551.071 on the 22nd day of February 2023 at 6:19 p.m. And do our trustees need to dial into a different WebEx The Board of Trustees of the San Antonio Public Library has completed its executive session on the 22nd day of February.
Welcome to WebEx.
2023 at 7:23 PM. The Board of Trustees of the San Antonio Public Library will now resume its open session. No action was taken. Okay, thank you everyone for your time, and I will entertain a motion.
I so move.
Thank you, Marcy. Thank you, Joanne. I don't think we need a vote on that. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your input, and I hope everyone has a great day.